Joining us now, former acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker. Sir, thanks so much for coming on National Report. All right, tell me your thoughts. What are you hoping to learn from this redacted affidavit?
Well, the first thing I'm hoping to learn is how transparent is the Department of Justice going to be? And we're going to know that based on how much is redacted. And, this Department of Justice, unfortunately, has lost really the benefit of the doubt in this case. And because of so many other cases involving President Trump where political motivations did play in to their case management. And so I'm going to look for that. Second, obviously, I'm going to look at the details that are revealed about this investigation so that we can learn what this case is based on, what they're hoping to do, and whether this is just them grabbing what they feel are presidential records or whether they hope to ultimately prosecute individuals, including Donald Trump. But I just continue to believe that there is no case to be made against the former president.
But for an Attorney General, Merrick Garland, to personally sign off on this search warrant, wouldn't you speculate that there is something really there beyond, boxes of classified documents that the archives wanted back? I mean, this is unprecedented that we saw.
You're absolutely right, Emma. This case from the beginning has been completely unprecedented. Never in our country's history has a former president had a search warrant executed on his house, or really at all. In this case, because of the previous cases, whether it's the Mueller investigation, whether it's the way Hillary Clinton was treated, whether it's a continued, soft, hands-off approach to Hunter Biden, it just seems that there is a two-tiered system of justice. And so you're right, Merrick Garland, as Attorney General, cannot be trusted. But at the same time, he should be in charge, and I don't fault him for a high-profile case like this, wanting to be involved and making sure that the Department of Justice is doing it right. I just hope that, he's not pushing the Department of Justice to go where it shouldn't go.
I want to show you this Trafalgar poll. Kind of gives us a sense of how the American public are viewing this raid on the former president here. And it's split down the middle, essentially. Do you believe the Justice Department investigation into Donald Trump is only intended to prevent him from running for office in 2024? 48% say yes, 48% say no. Where would you vote? How would you vote, Matt?
Well, there's no doubt that if they're going to pursue a criminal case, the whole intention of that would be to try to disqualify him. But I think many people, including myself, do not believe that the statutes that would come into play in this case would ultimately disqualify the president. The Constitution lays out both the qualifications and the disqualifications to be president of the United States. Congress cannot amend that in any way. So I would expect that, if the Department of Justice goes the foolhardy route to try to prosecute President Trump, not only will they fail for lack of evidence, but they also won't accomplish their ultimate goal reflected in this poll.
And I believe we talked about at the time, too, when we learned that they were looking at retrieving those archives, that, taking those archives without permission, doing so illegally could be disqualifying for higher office. Does that also play into Donald Trump's future plans for whether or not he might run in 2024, whether or not he'd even be able to?
I don't think so. There's two parts to this. One is the statute. While it suggests you're disqualified from running for office, again, the Constitution is supreme on this issue. And second, if this is all about grabbing presidential records, including ones that are claimed to be classified, I think ultimately that question, since it's resolved and they have the documents, I don't know if this case proceeds. And so maybe these redactions will be lighter because ultimately this search warrant accomplished the ends of the investigation.
I want to turn now to some other unredactions that we received. The 2019 DOJ memo that deals with former President Trump and alleged wrongdoing in the Russia collusion probe. Former AG Bill Barr actually had this to say about the investigation's findings. Take a listen.
I don't think he was on top of his game. I think he made some very serious errors. I think it was pretty evident within a few months of him taking the position that there had been no collusion. But instead of stopping it at that point and letting the country move on, he took two instances which clearly on their face were not obstruction, and which even his final report doesn't try to argue were obstruction.
All right, that 2019 memo, and we got it in the summer of 2022. Matt, what did that tell you?
Well, I agree with General Barr. I mean, this was the problem with the Mueller investigation. He was appointed according to the regulations, which means you couldn't fire him without cause. And he did not live up, and his team did not live up to their prosecutorial duty, which was they were given a charge to find whether or not collusion had happened with the Russian government and the Trump campaign. They, within months, found that it hadn't. They should have wrapped up their investigation. The deputy attorney general who was in charge of the investigation at the time, couldn't call the question because you couldn't remove them or force them to conclude their investigation. The period of time where I was, supervising the investigation, the same thing. And Bill Barr even had the same problem. But, at the end of the day, the memo that was released confirms exactly what we all believed under the law. Those acts that, in the second part of the Mueller investigation, potentially obstruction of justice, nobody would have been charged for, a tweet or firing Jim Comey. And so these are the things that the left would always go crazy on their media about. But, ultimately, the rule of law in the United States of America still says that those acts were nowhere close to obstruction of justice.
All right. That is former acting AG Matt Whitaker joining us this morning on National Report. Thank you.